Yep, I'm responding to another video. It's like this. Personally, I don't believe in God. If you do fine, whatever. I'm not. I'm not setting out to debate this with anyone. As a matter of fact, if you believe in God and you're comfortable with that, and you're not trying to impose it on anyone else, or being a pain in anyone else's ass, I'd really advise you to just stop watching this video if you'd rather not have your beliefs challenged, which is fine. But if you're going to try to convince me that God exists, you'd better be bringing your A game. Actually, as a matter of fact, considering that the argument being made in the video I'm responding to here kind of constitutes the definitive theistic A game, you might want to make that your A plus game. Really, I've heard all the common arguments, and none of them are compelling. And I'm going to be, the video I'm responding to here makes a common argument that, in my opinion, is the one that comes closest to being a valid argument, and it's still fucking wrong. So, yeah. And I'm not going to subject you to the full 25-minute video that I'm referring to, because I'm merciful. It doesn't take 25 minutes to make the point that they're trying to make. It's fucking ridiculous. And like 90% of the video is just them presenting quotes from scientists who, at least in the context of those quotes, seem to agree with them. It's pretentious, really. So let's go ahead, and I'll play a little bit of it, and then I'll respond and play a little more and respond, and you know how it goes.
Science is unable to tell us what or who caused the universe to begin, but some believe it clearly points to a creator. Well, British theorist Edward Milne wrote a mathematical treatise on relativity, which concluded by saying, "As to the first cause of the universe, in the context of expansion, that is left to the reader to insert, but our picture is incomplete without him." Another British scientist, Edmund Whittaker, attributed the beginning of our universe to divine will constituting nature from nothingness. Many scientists were struck by the parallel of a one-time creation event from nothing with the biblical creation account in Genesis 1:1.
So your claim is that the Big Bang is consistent with the biblical account of creation. No, it fucking isn't. The only thing that the Big Bang has in common with the biblical account of creation is the implication that the universe had a beginning. That's all. Here's a short list of things that your God could have mentioned to make it a little bit more clear that he was referring to the Big Bang. Space-time, singularity, inflation, expansion, fundamental particles. None of that is mentioned. And the only thing that the Bible does say is inaccurate. Did you read the sentence you're referencing? The sentence says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." The earth formed like 9 billion years after the universe. That's not the beginning. It's not reasonable to call it the beginning. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It doesn't say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and then stood around for 9 billion years with his almighty thumb up his ass until the earth formed. So, no, there's no connection between the biblical account of creation and the Big Bang. You're wrong.
The universe is finely tuned for life. Physicists calculated that for life to exist, gravity and the other laws of physics that govern our universe needed to be intricately tuned just right, or our universe couldn't exist. For instance, did you know that if the expansion rate of the universe had been slightly weaker, gravity would have pulled all matter back into a big crunch? We're not talking about merely a 1 or 2% reduction in the universe's expansion rate. Well, Stephen Hawking writes, if the rate of expansion 1 second after the Big Bang had been smaller by even 1 part in 100,000 million, the universe would have recollapsed before it ever reached its present size. Well, on the flip side, if the expansion rate had been a mere fraction greater than it was, well, all galaxies, stars, and planets could never have formed, and we wouldn't be here.
This is an argument from incredulity that creationists make a lot. Yes, the universe as we know it, the configuration of it, is extremely specific. Let me explain why that doesn't imply design. Get yourself a deck of cards and shuffle it, and then lay them out in order, just one after the other, and look at the order that they're in. And wow, what are the odds that they would be in that specific order? Very unlikely, but just as unlikely as being in any other specific order. And so it is with the universe. In regards to the universe, yes, it is very specific. It is very unlikely to have occurred just this way, randomly. But what are the alternatives? And what makes this configuration objectively superior to any other configuration? And objectively is key here. Not superior by our standards. It's got to be superior by our standards because we developed according to this configuration. Any configuration that produces anything it produces, that configuration is ideal to that that entity. You need some outside standard that is independent of this universe to define it as ideal, and we haven't got that. In addition, do you know that none of the other outcomes did occur anywhere in time or space in all of existence? We don't know. In order to make a compelling case for design, you need to demonstrate that the universe is three things: that it's unlikely, that it's preferable or demonstrably intentional, and solitary. All three. You've only demonstrated one. That doesn't prove design. The universe is very specific, and we consider it preferable because we developed within it, we developed according to that configuration. It doesn't make it preferable by any objective standard, which it has to be in order to substantiate the argument for design. So no, the fact that the universe is so specific and so, as you put it, fine-tuned for life to exist again, does not demonstrate design. You're wrong again.
Theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking, an agnostic, writes, "The remarkable fact is that the values of these numbers seem to have been very finely adjusted to make possible the development of life."
Keep coming with these alleged quotes from scientists, and I mean, let's assume that all of the quotes you're providing are accurate and in context, which is kind of hard for me to believe because it's very unscientific to make such ridiculous claims. It's kind of out of character for scientists to babble about God the way you are, because that kind of reasoning is not conducive to knowledge. But let's assume that the quotes you're providing from the individuals you're providing are accurate and completely in context. A stupid argument is a stupid argument. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. And the argument that the complexity and specific configuration of the universe implies design is a stupid argument for the reasons I just explained. So I really don't care who it is you're referencing in an attempt to establish an authority to make your case. It's a bad argument. It's incorrect. It's stupid. There you have it. I did want to mention this briefly as well, for the simple fact that I could see, assuming anybody bothers to watch this, which, I mean, yeah, so I'm talking to all three of you fuckers. Nobody ever watches these. But I could see getting shit for not addressing every single point in the video that I'm responding to. I mean, the last point he refers to the complexity of DNA. I almost didn't bother responding to it because basically the same principle applies. Complexity doesn't necessarily prove design, and he talks about like how he says it's impossible for DNA to have evolved, which is incorrect. It's theorized that it evolved from simpler RNA. You can look this stuff up online. I don't want to make this video like 30 minutes long like the one that I'm talking about was. Again, same basic principle. You can extrapolate from what I've been saying to kind of cover the last point there. Complexity doesn't necessarily mean design. Lastly, and it's been said millions of times in the debate about the existence of some sort of God, but I'm going to repeat it and elaborate on it a little bit, because there has been no reasonable answer given. The basic statement is, if God created the universe, who or what created God? And the answer that's always given is, well, nobody. God's just has always existed. No, it doesn't work like that. It's exactly the same to say that the universe just spontaneously was created and or just exists. It's actually more reasonable, because it doesn't make any sense that the universe is so complex and so intricate that it needed a designer, but a being capable of creating such a complex universe wouldn't have. That's completely illogical. By the same reasoning that you claim the universe has to be designed, your God would have to be designed. if your God is completely immune to logic, then you can't very well use logic to try to prove he exists.